Hello, good evening. Welcome to our fifth episode of Trends KE. Thank you very much for keeping on to this platform and for all your support, your comments, and encouragement. This week, so much has been happening, and that's what we are going to focus on our first part of Trends. Then later on, we are going to have a discussion with our guest, Davis Tamba. We are going to talk about the youths and politics. Keep sending in your questions. Tell us what you think the youth should play as a role in politics. In that segment, we shall be reading your comments and questions about the same. So, to begin with, I'll take you straight to what has been happening this week. And that's just so much that has been happening. Right now, I've just been checking on my phone a few minutes ago, and there is a trend about Kabi wa Jesus. If you know that guy and you don't know what is happening around him, it's being said that, and I've just confirmed that from his own account, that Kabi realized, and I'm using the word realized because that was after DNA, he realized that he was actually the father to his niece. What does that mean? It means that Kabi wa Jesus had a sexual relationship with the cousin, and then that's years on. The DNA test was done, and it has been noted that he is the father to Abby. The girl is called Abby, and that is coming with so much heat, putting in mind that that is actually a case of incest that has just been confirmed, and that would lead to a case trial in court. And before I show you that comment that was brought up by Kabi, I think first my producer will play that clip that we had our guest on the last show, where we discussed about the law and sexual offenses. My producer Don, if you can get that clip, chewing each other have been very much on the rise. And kindly tell us what the law says about incest.
Now, you see, the law is very clear. Yeah. Okay. Normally, people say when somebody say the law is very clear, definitely means it's not so clear, because you say the law is clear and then you spend 1 hour explaining how clear the law is. But there are some things. Yeah, there are some court rulings that have ruled that cousins are not related. But we have to differentiate between what is morally right and what is legally right. Right?
Yeah.
As much as the law, I'll ask you, Cedrick, you'll not tell me the only reason you'll not rape a kid is because if you're going to jail. You should tell me the only reason why you cannot rape is because your morals don't allow. Right? And therefore, we should not have a discussion as whether cousins are related by blood or otherwise. It is something that is morally wrong, even if a court will give a directive or a parliament to enact a legislation and say cousins can now get married. What stands within us as Africans is our morals comes first, even though we are guided and governed by the rule of law. But equally, we need to bring in our senses, our morality.
Yes.
This,
Thank
as
you.
much as much as the law might be a bit silent on this, but our morals won't allow.
Yes, our morals will come first in that case. So, and very many lawyers. Yeah, that's what the lawyer said. So we don't know if it shall take that course. And this is the information that Kabi brought up on his platform. If you can put on up that image by Kabi or Jesus, just for the audience to see what he said about the incident. As you can see there, he's saying that I wish to confirm yesterday paternity results were issued that confirmed that I am the biological father of the child. The results confirmed that in 2013, that's more than 8 years ago, which was before I got born again and married, I sired Abby. And he goes on and on and on and on, as you shall read in that, confirming that he's actually the father to his niece. And that is it that he had to say. Also, on to our next trend. Especially the richest person in the world. I'm talking about Bill Gates. So Bill Gates and his wife, Melinda, Bill Gates and his wife, Melinda Gates, just confirmed that they are getting divorced after 27 years in marriage. And very many Kenyans have flooded their platform to especially ladies, they are seeking for a place in their shoulder. They're saying it's a shoulder to lean on. I don't know. So it's and there was this meme that I saw on Twitter. I don't know if my producer can put it up. They're saying it's not all about the money. You can ask Bill Gates. That's the poster they put up announcing their divorce. Then there is that meme that someone put up saying that it's not all about the money. You can ask Bill Gates. He had the money, but still the wife left. Wow. And I don't know if my producer has gotten that. We shall be moving on to our next one. And Don Jaka is tuned in. I can see Samuel Mtotoake B is tuned in. Chief Sam, thank you very much, Chief. Miss Namaemba from Kitale tuned. Thanks very much for those of you who have tuned in. And on to the next story. There was a lot of fun sometime this week at Old Trafford of the mighty great Manchester United, when fans decided that they will play a formation of 48-50-50 in the field against Liverpool. Unfortunately, the match was postponed, but there was actually a lot of fun. I think you should first see that exactly what happened.
Man United, playing football. 20 times, Man United. 20 times, 20 times, I say. 20 times. That's right. We want places out! 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 What's up, bro? You alright? I'm good, mate.
His television work. There are no stewards that I can see. There are certainly no police in here. And now the fans are making their way back across, or a majority of them, back across, back to the area that they came into. It's in front of the Stretford end. And these are extraordinary scenes, the like of which I've never seen before.
Arlo, thank you very much. Shocking, shocking scenes coming to you from Old Trafford. We're going to...
Yeah, I think for me it's that little boy. That boy had a lot of fun, according to me. See, swinging on at that goalpost that belongs to De Gea. And then the match was postponed. But I think if the match could have gone on, Manchester United would still have beaten Liverpool. I know Peter George, I don't know if he's tuned, but he will think otherwise. There are so many people who are still tuning in. Thank you very much. Elizabeth Chege, thank you very much, Liz. Innocent Arisa is tuned. Thank you very much, Alex Onsase. Hello, looking forward to see the guest and the topic. Thank you very much, Alex. The guest will be coming up just in a short while. CJ Laspon is always tuned in. Thank you very much, CJ. Valeria Abramis is at work, though she's following. Thanks a lot, Val. Samuel, and I had read the other comments also. Then something else that has been happening around this week is that visit by the president of Tanzania, Mama Suluhu Hassan Samia. And she visited Kenya that was entirely a business trip, but then it ended up to have some much fun out of it. And My producer, if you play that clip where she was addressing parliament.
Ndugu zangu wa bunge, sisi ni wafuatiliaji
where...
wakubwa wa mikutano ya bunge la Kenya. Mimi binafsi huwa napenda kusikiliza bunge la Kenya. Tunafanya hivyo kwa kuwa yanayojadiliwa humu nasi yanatuhusu. Niseme tu kuwa bunge la seneti la Kenya na bunge la taifa la Kenya linatusisimua kwa mengi. Tunafurahia upana wa demokrasia yake, uzito wa mijadala yake na hamasa ya wabunge wake. Tulifurahishwa zaidi na uamuzi wenu wa kuanza kutumia lugha ya Kiswahili ndani ya bunge. Na ndicho kinachonifanya mimi nisikilize bunge la Kenya. Na enjoy kile Kiswahili kile. Kiswahili chenu kina vionjo vingi, kuna vionjo vyake ambavyo peke yake ni burudani tosha kusikiliza. Nilikuwa namsikiliza Mheshimiwa Spika anavyoshindwa kutaja namba za miaka kwa Kiswahili. Lakini inafurahisha kwamba mlishatunga kanuni za bunge kwa Kiswahili na mkamwalika Mheshimiwa Job Ndugai kuja kuzindua kanuni zile.
That was a lot of fun, and I think she was speaking from the experience of parliament. Ni venye tu hajapatana na Mamorio wa hii mtaa mpeleke na mtaratara. That's where the real gist is. That's where she would have much fun of enjoying Sheng. And in the same breath, I want you to see how keen the president of Kenya can be. That's President Uhuru Kenyatta. While the president of Tanzania was addressing, Uhuru was very keen listening. So in the following clip that my producer is going to play, keep a keen eye on the body language. Don, if you have that clip.
Yako karibu kumalizika, nitumie lugha ya Mheshimiwa Rais, tutaweka kidole hivi karibuni, lakini pia na mwingine tuko kwenye mazungumzo kumaliza. Tumegusia pia swala la ujenzi wa bomba la kusafirishia gesi.
I think you can see how the president is always attentive and very, very attentive. And our next story, just in case, ladies, just in case you find your man with a pregnancy test kit in the house, please don't go on throwing all tantrum around that. Whose is this for? Because from a research that has been done, and I'm referring to a story that was done by The Standard, by a writer called Kennedy Gashuhi, pregnancy test kit can be used to test testicular cancer. And in that, even as my producer brings up that bit, in that, cancer, why men should take pregnancy tests. So in that article, they're saying that there is a substance in the tumor in testicular cancer, and that substance is called human chorionic gonadotropin. What? And that substance, it causes that test kit to test positive. So in case, so let me just use this word literally. In case the guy tests positive of pregnancy, it means that this person has testicular cancer. And if the person tests negative, then it means that the person does not have testicular cancer. Yeah, that's it. So the next time you find a guy with a pregnancy test kit, it's not all about the pregnancy. It's about taking care of his own health. And this week, I think it was this week or late last week, the Matiang'i the CS of internal security declared that the police service, it's the police service, ni utumishi kwa wote, na utumishi kwa wote itakuwa ni mali ya umma. So Matiang'i declared that there will be no intermarriages between police officers. I don't know what your take is in this regard, and Kenyans have actually pushed this further and said that even comedians should not be allowed to intermarry amongst each other, and that was in reference to that story by from Hamo and the baby mama. So let's listen in to what Matiang'i said about the police marrying each other. If you can play that.
Subject to the clearance of the National Security Council, we will create a new Office of Ethics and Gender Relations directly under the Inspector General. We will adopt the system that has been adopted by the KDF, for example. You are officers. We do not expect you to live here and go to have affairs with your constables whom you are managing. When it gets to that point, one of you has to leave, because we must maintain a certain standard of conduct in the police service. We are even insisting to the Inspector General that cases of sexual harassment in the service will be orderly room proceedings type of cases, and the officers who are involved should be stripped of their ranks and gotten out of the service. We cannot hope that if we are not disciplined ourselves, we will be able to discipline those who work with us, and we will be able to offer competent and efficient services.
Yeah, polisi waachiwe umma sababu ni mali ya umma. Shiru Kim is tuned in from Nairobi. Joseph Odiwar, thank you very much. Benedict Siahi is tuned in. Prince Mwash is tuned. JL Empire, as always, is tuned. Thank you very much. Best Star Prof from Embu. Leo tupige siasa. Siasa tunaingia in just a few. You can keep sending in your questions. Hello. Looking forward to see the guest and the topic, Alex Onsase. We are getting into that discussion, and introducing us into that discussion will be our last bit of what has been trending this week. And that is Otiende Amolo. Otiende Amolo was officially removed from JLAC committee. That's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. They're saying that those are just things that are done more often to make sure that at least someone else tests the different committees. But the word out there is saying it's because of his stand on the BBI about there being amendments. But it has already passed that phase. Just a few minutes ago, I was seeing the parliament is already voting, and the next session will be for the Senate. Let's listen in first how Otiende Amolo engaged with this chairperson in parliament.
About the law,
John,
you've not stepped in law school, so just allow me. Now, the thing, in our case, there were issues that were raised. In our case, there were issues that were raised about fairness of Schedule 2. There were issues that were raised about constitutionality. There were issues that were raised about completeness. I will not speak to them because they're in the document. But to be fair, because there are equally members, including lawyers, who do not agree with me, and they're entitled, because in law, there's no strict answer to anything. There are lawyers who believe that no constitutional amendment can be unconstitutional. What we have done, Mr. Speaker, and that was the midway part, we put the view on constitutionality and the view on unconstitutionality. But what we didn't do, there was a serious push by some of the members of the committee to suggest that we sever Schedule 2 and remove it. But we were all agreed.
Yeah, and that's what he had to say. Anasema lawyers wakiongea watu wengine kama if you don't have that law in you, just please keep quiet when the lawyers are speaking. And keep sending in your questions. We are talking about the youths in politics. Miss Namaemba, sasa tuweke feelings referring to that story from Matiang'i. Wamesema polisi wasioane tafadhali. The millennial Christian is tuned in from Kiambu. Thank you very much, Julie. Yeah, now we are having our guest. Our guest tonight is none other than Davis Tamba. And tonight, Davis Tamba will be joining us to talk about the youth and politics. Davis, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I very much would want to sing Look My Mom on TV, but something tells me to be patient with myself. Huh?
Yeah, you'll have to be patient on that. And my first question will come right there. I'll ask you this.
Yes.
What is the role of the youth in... First, let me start from a history perspective. What has been the role of the youth in the past in making leaders, they themselves as leaders, or determining the leaders of the country? From history, what role have been the youths playing in that perspective?
Oh, okay. Maybe before I go to your question of what the youth have been playing over the course of our political process, allow me just to mention something that I think is pertinent to our discussion today. And it relates to the issue of 4 years ago. If you realize, 4 years ago is precisely in 2017, the year so many of us youths, my age and your age, voted for the first time. It was the first time we had a feel of our political process. So at that time, it was meant to be a momentous milestone for us. But I can tell you, as a matter of fact, the youth who voted during the election of 2017, most of them might not even go back to the ballot to vote again, because the expectations they had, their vote had to matter. It had to matter in the sense that livelihoods had to be improved, things had to be improved on their end. With regards to the question you're asking and the analogy I'm trying to bring is, I tend to feel that youth have been largely left out when it comes to our politics, especially in this country, in the sense that they are seen as instruments of placing or sustaining the politically elite and keeping them in power by way of their vote. So I can't say they have really played that much of an influential role when it comes to our political processes. I think they have been used as scapegoats, for lack of a better word, to advance political agendas.
Yeah, and in that regard, let me first ask you, who are when you're talking about youth in this aspect, who are these people that we are talking about in terms of the age bracket? Because very many people, including politicians, want to associate themselves as being youthful, but if you look at them, they don't sound and look youthful. What's that age bracket we are talking about?
The definition of the youth bracket is relative, because you'll see people who are, let's say 50. It depends on who is defining it, because however much you might want to look at it and say the youth will range from the age of 18, let's say that is the legal age of youth to be involved in the political processes that happen. It will be, I mean, expanded to include even people up to 50. So I think I can't have a specific definition for that per se, but if I were to define it in my own terms, I'll say it is the class that will range from between 18 years to 40 years. But everybody else will define, yes, that is my own analysis of the same, but everybody will define it differently, however much they want to say that just to include themselves in the youth bracket.
Yeah, and in that regard, I have a clip that I want us to play, and my producer, I don't know if you got that clip by Malala. You shall be playing that. I made to know that Malala is your senator, if that's not wrong, and there's this way that he was addressing. He looks like a youthful member of parliament or senator in that case, and this is how he was addressing his governor. If we can listen
kuna watu
to that
wawili
clip,
baada ya sisi kufanya kazi tumeunganisha Musalia na Wetangula. Kuna watu wawili pia wanaanza kutusumbua, wanataka kuwa marais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Mmoja anaitwa Governor Oparanya. Ukweli wa maneno Oparanya. Hii president hata kuna sura tu ya kukuwa president. Sura tu.
He's actually saying that his governor is weekly for Paranya should join hands with the Musalia Mudavadi, and he's saying that Paranya does not, even his face does not look like a face of someone who can become president. First of all, I want you to address the way that he's addressing his governor, and then if his words actually in real politics mean anything, that Oparanya does not even have a face of seeing that seat of the presidency.
You see, those are the kind of I don't know, unwarranted politics that we have, because when you are arguing politically, we expect you to sell us agendas, not to be personal with people. How Oparanya looks with his face does not matter to me. The question should be, is he able to deliver? So I think those are the kind of politics we need to grow out of, especially with the youth of this country, because if we keep if we keep entertaining ourselves or treating ourselves to this kind of politics, because people are not selling as issues, they are selling as hatred for one another, or which is not something we want. We want politics that deal with issues. That said and done, I wouldn't say, and maybe that is not to say that on this platform that I'm endorsing a particular candidate for that matter, but I would say whether, like, every person has the right to join hands with whoever he wishes to. So whether Oparanya chooses to join hands with, and by the way, it is his right, if he so wishes to vie for the presidency. I don't think he has done any harm, or by virtue of him vying for the presidency. So I think Malala, I believe sometimes is out of line for going personal on political opponents, and is him being one of the youth that we look up to, because I understand he's not that much old, he's not that old. Him being one of the leaders that we look up to, I think he's falling below par as per expectations are when it comes to politics of development and looking forward.
Yeah, and let's just try and get a few questions from the audience. Ms. Namaemba is tuned in, is concerned about that address by the Senator of Kakamega, Joan Ogendi. JL Empire has a question, and then Tuku is tuned in. Let me come to the questions. First, there is a concern by Ms. Namaemba. She's saying, sadly, in this country, an aspiring youth to join is in regard to looking for money, kuomoka, and they are saying is suppressed. So the youth are just concerned about the money. Then Shiru Kim has a question. Mr. Tamba, unaonaje, will the narrative change provided now tuko na BBI? Hii ita affect aje role yetu? Will we play the same role or diverse? So just keep that question in mind about the BBI and changing of the narrative. And then together with this question from JL Empire, who is asking, do you think youths will change the tribal culture in politics in Kenya, or still the effect will go on, especially heading into the 2022 politics? Tamba.
Okay, thank you for that opportunity. In my own assessment, maybe I may start with the first question that that was raised about youth ending tribal conflicts. I believe the youth in Kenya are better placed to help mitigate these issues of tribal conflicts that happen now and then, because you realize, like, every election cycle, every 5 years when you come around to elections, it is always a matter of life and death, People lose their lives, people lose their property, and most of the people that are affected are the youth. I believe that the youth in Kenya, as we speak at the moment, have the greatest role to play when it comes to ending these tribal conflicts. And maybe I should allude to something. You see, the political elite, the people who now, run the political scene, they are like a system that feeds on the disfranchisement of youth in this country. So like the more the youth are disenfranchised, the more they'll be available to take those small bribes, the more they'll be available to attend those large gatherings where I would say useless manifestos are sold to people. So that the youth have been like a system, like a fuel that the system runs on. So I believe it is high time, but we cannot just change the status quo unless we start believing we can change ourselves first. Because you'll always hear the narrative of this is my person. Whoever is giving me money is getting my vote. At the end of the day, we forget that there are pertinent issues that...
I think we lost you there. There's a problem with your connectivity. There's still questions being sent in. Rono Chonginyo, the CNN guy, is tuned in from Kitengela. He's saying, we had a little bit of a problem with your connectivity, and you shall pick up from where you left as you also answer. There is one question that has come in. Rono, I have seen your concern, tuned in from Kitengela. Thank you very much for watching. Joseph Odiwar, as you finish up your point, is asking, what can Kenya learn from Tanzania in terms of democracy and obedience to the Constitution? Democracy and obedience to the Constitution. What can we learn from Tanzania?
I think I'm sorry about the connectivity issue, but I realize there are so many questions that have been raised that I've not been able to address. The issue, the last question that you asked about what can Kenya learn from Tanzania's obedience to the Constitution, especially in the context of the youth. Maybe if I can draw from history a little bit, is because I'll say Tanzania had a strong foundation as compared to us. Because if you compare the leadership of Nyerere during that the times that we had Kenyatta in Kenya, Nyerere emphasized more on the values of, it was an ideology of socialism, but in that ideology of socialism, there were those values that were instilled in people, that you grow up learning to love your country. So I think that by virtue of that foundation alone, it had instilled that culture in Tanzanians. Because if you can bear me witness, the issues of corruption if you compare them to Kenya and Tanzania, corruption in Tanzania, I would say it is minimal. I can't say that there's zero corruption, but it's limited. But Kenya, corruption is elsewhere. It is everywhere, because it is our mode of survival. It is our modus operandi. So I think that I think that question relates deeply to the foundations that people have. So I think the issue of obedience, if so it is that it is apparent. I'm not so sure, because I've never been to Tanzania. I don't know how the society of Tanzania right now is, but from perspective, it appears most Tanzanians they are patriotic in one way, of which will differ from us. So I think it will come to the issue of their foundation. When it comes to the issue of BBI and what change it will bring to the youth of Kenya, maybe I just want thing to say. You know, now in a forest, it's only the trees that change. The monkeys are still the same, and the monkeys will jump on one tree to another based on their needs. Maybe this tree has better fruit than the other. So unless we realize that we are under a canopy that monkeys are playing us, just jumping from one tree, because we can take ourselves in the context of the trees. They're jumping from one tree from another, so long as they get what they want. So I don't think the BBI collectively or in its entirety addresses the concerns of the youth. I think it is something that just come conveniently for the political class.
Yeah, and let me throw you another question. And this
Yes, please.
other question is first, there is someone who is also asking something about the BBI. First,
yes,
do you think this BBI will sail through? And then, what are the youths factored in the BBI? Because there is Ms. Namaemba here concerned, saying that the only thing she's seeing in that is the grace period of help. She is not seeing anything in it for the youths. What do you think is in it for the youths? And are you very can you say on your part that it will sail through? Because the parliament was voting tonight, it's going to the Senate, then it will go for the popular vote from the people.
From the issue, the question of it sailing through, I think it is quite obvious between you and me, because if a car grant can make me pass a BBI, I mean a BBI document, what will stop the machinery in the place to have it passed? I think I'll throw the rhetoric to you. I don't think there is much reason to say that it won't pass, because based on the history of the BBI to the point of where it has reached, it has been evident that it can really pass. And I'm not trying to poke holes at somebody or anybody or any group for that matter, but I believe from the look of things of the onset, or with also the idea, the story of MCS getting car grants to pass this thing, I don't see any reason why it will not pass. Now, on the question of the youth being involved in the BBI, you see, I always get the feeling is the feeling that the supporters of the BBI or the promoters knew very well, because that if they give us what we want, we will give them what they want, regardless, because it is just we give them one thing, and then we will have what we want, because they know that many youth in Kenya are affected with the issue of help and loans, university loans. So what do we do to get the youth vote or the youth support? We make them attracted to this document by giving them such elements of waivers, because my question will be, what has stopped the leadership that has been existing to grant these waivers long ago until you have to include it in a BBI document? It makes no sense to me, because what will have stopped you in previously that you must include it in this document? I think there it raises questions as to their true intentions.
Yes, and we have talked about the BBI, and then there is this other wing that is even from the voting tonight. I've seen that most of the MPs who are allied to the deputy president are actually against the BBI. And with your reference to the forest, is it just another story of the forest, or do they actually have some interest that are of concern to the people on the ground? That's from the Tangatanga wing that is associated with the UDA.
You see, I'll say we never learn. It is not even a matter of interest. Actually, it is interest. What benefits you at that moment? If we have gone to that, we have come to that point where if it does not favor you, you will object. You don't look beyond if it benefits the majority. So I think it is just a matter of history repeating itself, because also, you see, it is we are being treated to politics that we are used to all through, the politics of alignments, because now we are nearing elections, and you will see the formations that are coming to play. Like right now, by virtue of this BBI, the voting on how it will roll out, it will perhaps give us an indication of what the formations will be in come 2022. So I don't think there is any, if there is interest for the common citizen at hand, it's very minimal. But I can't rule out I can't rule out the chance that it is there, but most of them, in fact, if not all of them, play to self-interest. They have never had interest in everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. This before I read you another question, Mimi Bree is tuned in from Eldoret. There is someone watching us all the way from India. That's Joshua Boit. And that's it. But then let me ask you about there is this youthful presidential aspirant. I'm talking about Governor Mutua. Governor Mutua aspires to be president. And right now, actually, the youths have the highest number of votes, I think. Nicole Caroline is tuned, thank you. The youths have the highest number of votes, I think. But then there was a story that I was seeing on Twitter about how the youths address the issue of revolution. They are actually talking about an actual revolution, but then they are taking it on the keyboard. Someone is chilled somewhere in their apartment or in their house, probably in bed or watching a movie, and is tweeting revolution, revolution. So we even don't know if the youths are actually registered voters. We don't know if they will come out to register when there will be mass registration. What are the chances of having a youthful person ascending to the presidency? And do the people who have aspirations in politics as youths carry the manifestos that are actually of good leadership? Or do they just want to ride on the fact that they are youths and the youths have the popular vote?
I think the youth will have a shot at political leadership in this country if only they come together and say they refuse to be used by the current political establishment. Unless they do change that status quo, I guarantee you, I see no chance in the foreseeable future where we'll have a youthful leader at the helm of this. At the helm of leadership in this country. It still comes to the issue of disenfranchisement, and you mentioned something about Alfred Mutua. I might not want to comment on that. But if I go back to your story of the talk of a revolution, you see, they say in those who study history will tell you one thing, that political systems that feed on the poor or manipulate or exploit the citizen, they exist because of a citizenry that is submissive to fear. If you are submissive to fear, you will be manipulated in any way. So in this current setup, you see, like, most youth will talk about taking action, but they won't take action because they are submissive to fear. So I also don't believe that we are at that point where there is there will be a significant change in the status quo by way of a revolution. What I believe is that when a human being is pushed too much to the wall, the only place to do is to push you back. I mean, the only thing left to do is to push you back. So until it reaches that point, I think what we do is just like routine, fighting over Twitter, and then nothing comes out of it.
Yes, fighting on the keyboards and doing actually nothing. And you've talked of action. I'll be coming back to you with that question as we wind up, because I can see time is not on our side. The last question that I will ask regarding to taking action, what actually is the action that what are the youth supposed to do to make their voices heard in politics and make their voices heard and count in deciding the leadership of the counties and the top leadership of the country? And also in that same question, I will throw to you a question from Joseph Odiwar, who is asking that what are the stakeholders doing towards ensuring that each vote counts. That's his biggest worry, because I've actually talked to several people who are within the youth bracket, and many of them are saying that they won't turn up to vote because they believe that their vote doesn't count. That's what they believe, that their vote won't count, or maybe they are not interested in voting for the people whom they already think that will win, or the people who are in the top race, and they think that if they vote someone else, it will be like a waste of time. So in taking action, and even as you respond to that about the IEBC and making votes count, what are the youth supposed to do as an action to make their voices heard?
Maybe I'll start with the last part of your question, about the idea. And as a matter of fact, I started with this when I say that many youth who went to the ballot in 2017, if you go to talk to them, most of them will tell you that was their last, their first and last time that they will ever vote. When it comes to that, there is something that I always hear, or it goes on in the philosophical circles, that you cannot master yourself unless you know where your true strength lies. And the true strength of the youth in Kenya lies in each other. And by me alluding to that is, they have to realize that the youth are the majority. By majority, meaning they have the capability or the ability to make their voice be heard when it comes to the ballot, which translates to all the succeeding political processes. So I think the first thing that actually the key thing that the youth in Kenya need to do is to avoid the politics of them being used. They need to realize that the country that they will be building, or the decisions they are making today, will be decisions that will impact their generations. So if, for instance, right now you can hear stories of money being looted all over. You know stories of COVID billionaires. People are actually minting money by virtue of working in government. So unless the youth refuse to be used by the political elite, I think it is a circle that will keep on coming back to us with succeeding generations, and it is a trap that we might never be able to get ourselves out, and until we learn to dance to the politics of issues and agendas and developments, not politics of tribal inclinations and divisions and what so forth.
And do you think that the youth should decide and come to they come as I think a voting bloc, rather than move in this strata that has been defined by the all-time politicians? We are now having, because mostly it's been about tribes, my person, our people. Right now we have a narrative called hustlers. And it has different definitions. Everyone has their own definition. So would you think or advice of the youths coming up as their own voting bloc and then rallying behind someone whom they believe in the agenda?
Absolutely. It is what I would encourage most youth to do, because when they become disenfranchised, you see the youth vote is now split across the blocks. But if they come together and then, because I believe youth in Kenya are the majority, if they come together and then say, we have a particular candidate who we believe is going to transform our nation and bring to an end to these political circus that we have, because I don't think we are politicians, by the way. What we have, we are just circus men running around selling us dirty political philosophies. I strongly encourage the youth to come together, make their voice as a bloc. In that way, and I think by doing so, we'll be sending a very strong message to the establishment.
Yeah. The very last question. Currently, there are so many formations. You have the One Kenya Alliance that has Mudavadi in it and the likes of Wetangula. There is the ODM wing that's led by Raila Odinga, although he has not declared whether he's running for presidency yet, which also has Governor OPARANYA and Joho, who are already in the race. And then there is the other wing that has the deputy president. Those are the main forms that have shown themselves to be interested actually in the presidency. How do you see these formations going forward? politically speaking, which do you think there will be any change in the formations beyond BBI and heading into the election in 2022?
Changes should not surprise you because we expect them. Considering our political nature. In politics, you have to realize that there are no permanent enemies and there are no permanent friends. So everybody will jump ship based on their interests. So I will not be surprised even if there is a political alliance or formation that comes from the side of the Deputy President and the Right Honorable former Prime Minister. I think we should be open to, because these things will happen. It will depend on the political interests of our political establishments as we speak.
Yes, thank you, and we shall be winding up after reading these shout-outs to those who have tuned in today's show. Thank you very much, Joseph Odiwor, Nicole, Caroline Omolo, Mimi Bree, thanks for tuning in. Joshua Boit, all the way from India. Miss Namaemba, thank you very much for tuning in. Joseph Odiwor, Rono Chonginyo, tuned in, and Joan Ogendi, JL Empire, Shirukim, Dhuku Kariuki, Justina Kageni, Julie, the Millennial Christian, Best Star Prof. Thank you very much, Prince Mwash, and all of you, Alex Onsase, Elizabeth Chege, CJ Lasbon, Valerie Abramis, Sam, Chief Sam, Samuel Oriwo, thank you, Don Jaka. Thanks all of you for tuning in tonight's show. Thank you very much, Davis Tamba, for showing up for the show. I think we will have to create another session that will be entirely for pure politics. That's if you'll have time for that.
I'll make time. I'll try and make time.
Yeah, we will try and organize another one of that. Thank you very much for coming to the show. And thank you very much, all of you, for tuning in. Thanks to my producer all the way from India, Don Jaka. And thanks to my director here in Nairobi, Cleophas Oloch. Until next time, see you. Bye-bye.